Okay, so if you've been working in software lately, you've probably felt this gap, right? On one hand, you see all these headlines, AI boosting productivity by huge numbers, like 50, maybe even 90%.
Hmm.
But then there's your actual day, maybe pasting error messages into a chatbot late at night, looking at weird PRs and, the team's velocity. Still looks kind of flat.
Yeah, that frustration is really common right now. And it's because a lot of the AI promise has come through, let's say, simpler code completion tools. You just kind of bolt them onto how you already work.
Right, just an add-on.
Exactly. But the research we've looked at, the field studies and what successful companies are doing, it confirms the boost is real. But, and this is the key finding, you only get those big gains, like the study showing weekly merges up around 39%, when you redesign the whole workflow around what we call agentic AI. You can't just install a gadget and expect magic.
Okay, so that's our job today then. Let's connect that feeling of frustration, the flat charts, with the actual research. We need to see the proof that the gains are possible and, crucially, how some organizations actually manage to do it, moving beyond just demos.
Exactly. Building something durable.
So let's start right there with that frustration. The article we're looking at calls it the paradox. Why does using this seemingly amazing tech sometimes feel like it's, well, just making more work?
Yeah.
We hear from engineers, pull requests seem bigger, code reviews take longer, and sometimes junior devs ship things they don't totally understand because the AI wrote it.
That's the absolute core of the problem. It's the diagnosis, really. Teams got a new tool, maybe a great copilot, but the work itself didn't change.
How do you mean?
Well, if your specs are still kind of vague or maybe tickets aren't broken down well, your automated tests are patchy.
Eh,
The AI's output just lands in that messy system. And what happens, engineers kind of slip into what they call vibe coding.
Vibe coding. I think I know what that feels like. Painfully relatable.
It is, isn't it? It's that, chatting with the AI model till something compiles, but without that real upfront planning or checking the context. And the result, it actually hurts productivity sometimes.
How so?
Because the coordination costs just shoot up. When that AI code lands, engineers spent more time checking it, reviewing it, figuring out who owns what, than actually creating new stuff. The system, the workflow, it stayed the same. So AI adoption goes one way, productivity goes the other.
Okay, before we get to the proof of that 39%, let's clarify something. We keep saying agentic AI. What does that actually mean? How is it different from, say, the chatbot I paste errors into? Why is that distinction so important for changing the workflow?
That's a crucial distinction, yeah. So a standard chatbot or a code completer, it mostly just drafts things, a function, maybe some suggestions. It's passive.
Okay.
Agentic AI is different. These are systems built on top of the big models, yes, but they can perceive their environment, decide what to do next, and critically act using tools.
So it's not just suggesting code, it's doing stuff.
Exactly. You give it a higher level goal, it breaks that down into steps. It can call APIs, search your docs, edit code across different files, run commands, check the results, and loop back until it achieves the goal. It's like an engine driving automation.
Yeah.
And that ability to break down tasks and execute is what actually makes redesigning the whole workflow possible in the first place.
Got it. Okay, so now we know what we're aiming for. Let's tackle the skepticism. You mentioned a 39% gain. That sounds, well, it sounds like it could just be noise, right? How do we know they weren't just merging a load of junk code that broke everything later?
That's a fair question, and it's why this University of Chicago study is so interesting. It gives a really clear picture because they looked at a platform where the AI agent wasn't just optional. It was the default way code got generated, and it was wired into tools like code search, execution environments, the whole setup.
And the results held up against that junk code idea.
They did. Compared to similar places, weekly merges went up by about 39%. But, and here's the really important part, revert rates and bug fix rates didn't spike.
Ah, okay.
So the output wasn't just churn, it was actual quality-controlled progress.
Okay, that's significant. If the quality held up, the way people used the agent must have been different from that vibe coding you mentioned. What were these successful teams doing?
Yeah, the pattern totally shifted. It wasn't just, hey, AI, write this function. It was more like asking for complex actions, even planning. People asked the agent to explain why the system behaved a certain way, or to draft a plan with multiple steps, or make edits across several files.
So more strategic interaction.
Exactly. Especially the more experienced developers. They'd often start by planning with the agent, asking for the sequence of steps before writing any code. That planning first approach seems really central to getting those lasting gains.
All right, so the diagnosis seems clear. The bottleneck isn't the AI tool itself, it's the surrounding workflow. To get that kind of lift, you need a system. And that's where this McKinsey field review comes in. It gives us a playbook.
That's right. This is kind of the cure. McKinsey looked at over 50 different deployments and distilled it down to 6 essential steps or lessons for making agentic AI work seriously, not just as a gadget.
Okay, let's walk through these. These sound like the practical takeaways for listeners. Lesson 1. Map the workflow. Why start with drawing out the current mess?
Because it's so easy to fall into the trap of optimizing the wrong thing, what they call local optimization. You spend ages speeding up one little step everyone complains about, but the real delay is actually the handover between 2 different teams, like DevOps and security.
Okay.
Mapping the whole flow end to end across all the people and systems involved shows you where the actual choke points are that affect the final outcome.
Makes sense. Find the real problem first. Then, lesson 2 is about using the right tool.
Yes. Once you have that map, you need to match the right capability, rules engines, specific AI models, agents to each step. The agent isn't one single thing. It's more like the conductor of an orchestra.
Okay.
It needs to know when to call the code generation model, when to query the vector database for docs, when to use an external API for deployment. It doesn't play every instrument itself. That modular approach gives you reliability.
And to avoid the junk code or AI slop problem we talked about, lesson 3 must be vital. Invest in evaluation.
Absolutely critical. You have to treat these agents like new hires, not magic boxes. If you don't clearly define what good performance looks like for a task and then test for it constantly, people will just stop trusting a system.
So what does good mean here?
It means measurable things. What's the success rate on this type of task? How accurate is the information it retrieves from our knowledge base? What's the rate of hallucination or making stuff up? Testing builds trust. No trust, no adoption.
That seems fundamental. Okay, so these agents can get complex, doing multiple steps.
Yeah.
How do you keep them manageable? That sounds like lessons 4 and 5.
Right. Lesson 4. Track every step. Because the agent is making decisions and using tools, you absolutely need to log its whole reasoning process, every tool it called, every decision it made. If something goes wrong later, you can trace it back.
So you don't just throw up your hands and say, the AI failed.
Exactly. You can say, the failure happened when it called this specific API, which returned an error, or it got bad info from this search query here. It turns it from magic into engineering, debuggable engineering.
And lesson 5 helps scale this up. Reuse your agents.
Correct. Don't build every workflow from scratch. Identify common useful skills like summarizing a meeting transcript, extracting key details from a support ticket, drafting a standard report, and build those as reusable agent components.
So each new workflow starts ahead.
Precisely. You start compounding the benefits across the whole organization instead of solving the same problems over and over.
Okay, and the last one, maybe the most important for keeping things on track. Lesson 6. Keep humans essential.
Yeah, this came through strongly in all the successful cases. You have to redesign roles. Humans need to stay in charge, focusing on the judgment calls, the oversight, handling the tricky edge cases. Let the agents do the repetitive keystrokes, the busy work.
But the human expert defines what done looks like, what's acceptable.
Exactly. They set the criteria, they approve the final output. It frees up your experts to focus on the genuinely hard problems, the semantic stuff.
That's a perfect segue. This really does shift how we think about the work itself. The article talks about this semantic shift. Can you unpack that? What's the difference between traditional coding work and this new semantic focus?
Yeah, it's a subtle but really important shift. Think about traditional programming. A lot of it is what you'd call syntactic work. Meaning it's about the exact syntax, the grammar of the code. It's manually translating an idea into precise keystrokes, like manually wiring up a pagination feature across the UI, the backend, the database layer, line by line.
Okay, I know that pain.
Right. Agentic AI pushes the work up a level towards semantic work.
So focusing on the meaning, not the mechanics.
Precisely. Your job becomes describing the goal, the constraints, the evaluation criteria. What does good look like here, often in natural language? And then critically reviewing what the agent produces. The syntactic heavy lifting, the plumbing. That's where machines excel. The semantic work, choosing the right abstraction, naming things well, defining user value, that's where humans provide the essential judgment.
And this shift must also connect to that experience gap the study found, where senior developers actually accepted the AI's code more often than junior ones. That seems counterintuitive.
It does seem backward at first, right? You'd think The juniors, who need more help, would lean on it more, but the data showed seniors were more comfortable integrating the AI's output.
Why? Why would that lack of deep system knowledge
Yeah.
be such a blocker for juniors using these tools effectively?
Well, the thinking is that senior developers are just much better at delegation, essentially. They have that deep context of the system. They have sharp instincts for what might go wrong, where the tricky parts are.
So they can spot problems faster?
Yeah. A senior dev might immediately see, uh-oh, the agent suggested using this library, but that violates our core architecture rules, or that approach won't scale. A junior developer, lacking that background, faces a tough choice.
Mhm.
Either trust the AI blindly and maybe ship something risky, or just ignore the suggestion because they can't fully validate it.
Hmm. So if organizations want that 39% gain to apply to everyone, not just seniors, they need to plan for this gap.
Absolutely. You have to design for it. The recommendation from the analysis is often about pairing.
Hmm.
Have juniors work with seniors to design the prompts, to define the evaluation steps together. You need to treat delegating effectively to an AI agent as a skill in itself, something that needs coaching.
So you embed the senior's wisdom into the process.
Right. You capture those effective patterns and make the system safer and more useful for the whole team.
Okay, this brings us to the really practical part for the listener. We've got the why, that potential 39% lift.
Yeah.
We've got the how, those 6 McKinsey lessons. Now the roadmap. If someone listening wants to actually try this, pilot it in their team or organization, what's the sequence? How do you get started?
Okay, the key is don't try to boil the ocean. Start small and focused. Step 1. Choose a process that's painful but also relatively contained. Maybe support ticket triage or generating first drafts of release notes or updating internal documentation, something one team can really own.
Okay, pick a specific pain point, then what?
Step 2. Map that specific process end to end as it exists today. Get your baseline metrics. How long does it take now? Where are the errors?
Right, measure first, then bring in the agent.
Step 3. Look at your map and identify automation candidates. Which steps are repetitive, high volume, maybe involve processing a lot of text, or follow clear rules. Those are good starting points for an agent.
Okay.
Step 4. Build a thin slice. Don't try to automate everything at once. Use an orchestration tool. Things like LangChain or LangGraph are popular to manage the sequence of agent steps. And critically, keep humans in the loop for approval, especially at first. Controlled rollout, not chaos.
Makes sense. And the last 2 steps are about learning and improving.
Exactly. Step 5, instrument and learn. Remember tracking every step. Log everything. Measure the time saved, the reduction in errors, maybe user satisfaction if it's relevant. Make the gains visible with data.
So people see it's working.
Yeah. And step 6, close the loop with human feedback. The people using the workflow are your best source of truth. Get them to easily flag good and bad agent outputs. Turn that feedback into concrete examples you can use for ongoing testing and refinement. Those become your reusable evaluations.
It really all loops back to that core idea,
Yeah.
redesigning the system, not just plugging in a tool. The evidence seems pretty clear that 39% isn't just hype, but it doesn't happen automatically either.
That really is the main takeaway from all the analysis. AI and productivity only really move together when organizations deliberately redesign their workflows, build in that rigorous evaluation, and figure out how to reuse the parts that work well. Just treating AI as another tool you bolt on that gives you cool demos, maybe some local improvements, but not that durable system-level change.
So the practical message for you listening seems straightforward. Find one workflow that's causing real pain and treat improving it like building a product. Map it out, apply those 6 lessons we discussed, and make sure your human experts stay focused on the meaning and the judgment calls while letting the agents handle more of the mechanical, syntactic work.
And maybe the final thought here is to look at the longer-term potential. If you start building this capability carefully, workflow by workflow, you move towards an organization where your smartest people focus almost entirely on the high-value semantic challenges, the what and the why, while the software increasingly handles the syntactic grind work quietly and reliably. That's not science fiction. It's a realistic path you can start building.